The rejection, setting the stakes. The wind whipped through Chicago's downtown, rattling the glass facade of Pinnacle Enterprises. Sarah Carter, 25, sat in a sterile conference room, her resume a beacon of hope on the mahogany table. She'd spent weeks preparing, her soft voice steady as she answered questions about market trends and data analysis. Mr. Langley, the hiring manager, leaned back, his tie loose, his smirk cutting. "You're qualified, Miss Carter, but you're too quiet. We need someone who owns the room, not someone who fades into it." The words stung, sharp and final. Sarah's hands tightened in her lap, her heart racing, but her face stayed calm. The other interviewers avoided her gaze, one scribbling, another coughing. "Thank you for your time," Langley said, already dismissing her. Sarah stood, her chair scraping softly, and gathered her resume with trembling fingers. "I understand," she said, her voice a whisper but clear. She walked out, the glass door clicking shut. Outside, the city roared, indifferent. Sarah stood on the sidewalk, her coat pulled tight against the November chill. She looked up at the Pinnacle logo, towering above. "Too quiet," she murmured, a spark igniting in her chest. She wasn't broken. She was just beginning. The resolve, channeling pain. Sarah's apartment was a cramped studio above a noisy diner, the smell of grease seeping through the walls. That night, she sat on her worn couch, the rejection letter from Pinnacle crumpled in her hand. Her phone buzzed, a text from her sister, Mia. "You okay?" Sarah didn't reply. Instead, she opened her laptop, the screen's glow lighting her face. She wasn't loud, wasn't flashy, but she was sharp, meticulous, and determined. "If they won't give me a seat, I'll build my own table," she whispered. She started typing, a business plan, rough but clear. She'd always loved solving problems, seeing patterns others missed. Her quiet nature wasn't weakness, it was focus. She researched startups, coding late into the night, her coffee cold by dawn. The rejection replayed in her mind, not as defeat, but as fuel. She applied for a small business loan, her voice steady despite the bank manager's skepticism. "A tech startup? You're young, unproven," he said. Sarah smiled faintly. "Watch me." Months later, Carter Solutions was born in a one-room office, a flickering light bulb overhead. She didn't need to be loud. She needed to be right. And she was. The grind, building her empire. The next decade was a blur of late nights and small victories. Sarah's office grew from a single desk to a modest floor in a shared building. Carter Solutions specialized in data analytics, turning chaos into clarity for small businesses. Sarah's quiet demeanor became her strength. She listened to clients, caught details others overlooked, and built tools that spoke for themselves. But it wasn't easy. Investors dismissed her, assuming her soft voice meant weak leadership. A supplier ghosted her, costing thousands. One night, exhausted, she stared at a stack of bills, doubting herself. "What if they're right?" she whispered. Then her phone pinged, a client email praising her work. She kept going. By year 5, her team grew to 10, then 20. She hired people like her, quiet, underestimated, brilliant. They worked in sync, their office humming with purpose. By year 9, Carter Solutions was a name in tech, winning contracts over bigger firms. Sarah never forgot the sting of too quiet. It drove her to refine every algorithm, every pitch. Her company wasn't just a business, it was proof that quiet voices could roar. The resolution, the building purchase. The email came on a Tuesday morning, subject line, acquisition opportunity. CFO Priya burst into her office, eyes wide. "Pinnacle Enterprises is selling their headquarters. We can afford it." Sarah froze, her coffee mug halfway to her lips. The building, that building, where she'd been rejected a decade ago. Her team had tracked its declining profits, mismanagement eating away at Pinnacle's core. Carter Solutions, now flush with capital, was ready to expand. Sarah spent nights crunching numbers, her heart racing not with vengeance but purpose. She'd bid quietly, strategically, through a shell company to avoid attention. The day the deal closed, she stood in her office, staring at the contract. Her team gathered, unaware of the building's significance to her. "We own it," she said, simply. Priya grinned. "You're insane, Sarah, in a good way." That night, Sarah drove to the building, its glass facade unchanged. She stood where she'd stood 10 years ago, the wind softer now. The Pinnacle logo still loomed, but soon it would be hers. Not to erase, but to redefine. She wasn't here to settle scores. She was here to build something better. The confrontation, quiet triumph. The boardroom was the same, mahogany table, cold air conditioning, but the air felt different. Sarah walked in, her team behind her, carrying contracts and plans. Mr. Langley sat across, older now, his confidence frayed. Pinnacle's remaining executives shifted uncomfortably as Sarah's name was announced. "Mrs. Carter, Carter Solutions," the receptionist said. Langley's eyes widened, then narrowed, recognition dawning. "You're the intern candidate?" he stammered. Sarah smiled faintly. "The one you called too quiet." Her voice was soft but cut through the room. She laid out the acquisition terms. Her company now owned the building. Langley's face reddened, but he said nothing. Sarah didn't gloat. She spoke of her vision, a revitalized building, a hub for innovation, a place where no one would be dismissed for their voice. The executives listened, some nodding, others stunned. As she turned to leave, Langley called, "Why this building?" She paused. "Because some things are worth proving. Not to you, to myself." The door closed, the sound echoing. Her team exchanged looks, proud. Sarah walked out, her heels clicking, her heart steady. She'd won, not by shouting, but by being herself. The transformation, leading with kindness. Sarah didn't fire anyone. Instead, she met every Pinnacle employee, from janitors to managers, listening to their concerns. The building was a mess, leaky pipes, outdated systems, low morale. She invested in repairs, hired her team to overhaul the tech infrastructure, and created a mentorship program for young professionals, especially those overlooked like she once was. The lobby, once sterile, now had warm lighting and local art. Employees noticed the change. Maria, a receptionist, stayed late to help Sarah organize files. "You're not like them," she said. Sarah smiled. "I just want this place to feel like home." Within months, tenants praised the new management. Carter Solutions moved its headquarters to the top floor, where Sarah once stood rejected. She kept her office simple, a single photo of her and Mia on the desk. She led with kindness, not control, ensuring every voice was heard. One day, a young intern, shy and hesitant, pitched an idea. Sarah listened, nodding. "That's brilliant," she said. The intern beamed. Sarah saw herself in her, and in that moment knew this was her purpose, to lift others up, just as she'd risen. The reflection, inspiring others. Late one evening, Sarah stood alone on the building's rooftop, Chicago skyline sparkling below. The Pinnacle sign was gone, replaced with Carter Solutions Hub. She held a crumpled resume, her old one, kept as a reminder. 10 years ago, she'd been told she wasn't enough. Now she owned the place that rejected her. She didn't feel smug, only grateful. Her phone buzzed, Mia calling to celebrate. "You did it, Sarah," she said, voice thick with pride. Sarah smiled, tears in her eyes. "We did it." The next day, she spoke to her team, sharing her story, not to boast, but to inspire. "Don't let anyone tell you who you can't be," she said. "Your voice, quiet or loud, matters." The room erupted in applause, not loud, but real. Outside, a new sign invited applications. "Join us. Be heard." Sarah looked out at the city, her heart full. She'd built more than a company. She'd built a legacy of kindness and respect. Have you ever been underestimated? Share your story below, and let's inspire each other.